Normandy was sick. I watched a documentary on D-Day 2-3 weeks ago.
Band of Brothers.
You know, I haven't seen Band of Brothers. I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube.
I was in the unit for Band of Brothers.
Really?
Yeah, so we didn't take no shit. You know what I mean? Like we made sure everything is perfect. That's just how it's gotta be.
You got to.
Like they said, you have to look after the people. You have to set the example, just like just like the people who founded 2506 White Car. You know what I mean? The Easy Company.
I don't know what that is.
So if you watch Band of Brothers, you'll see Easy Company. I was part of Dog Company, and it's basically they were the first people to jump as a paratrooper on the beaches of Normandy.
Really?
Yeah, and it was dark. And it was fucking storming out and stuff. Like people, and they have people that survived in in 2000s. Like they have people talk about the event, like the Battle of the Bulge, all that stuff. That's all my unit, which was awesome.
Wow.
Well, let's get this podcast going.
Get it.
Let's get it.
Max has been waiting a long time to meet somebody that's as enthusiastic over history as he is.
I love history. I'm a huge history buff.
Yeah, me too.
And earlier today, Natalia was talking mad shit. While Max was giving history lessons, and she said, "I don't care. Nobody will care."
Do you know what yesterday was?
No, I don't.
Yesterday was
the start of Hanukkah.
Yesterday was Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
December 7th.
For sure.
And I told Natalia, and she was like, Max, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit.
The 1940.
I'm going to be honest with you. 1941.
Right? 41.
41.
Gotcha.
I always get it mixed up too. 43 or 41, but it was 41.
For sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, our fridge went out not too long ago, and we had to call for help. We had to get it serviced, and Ethan was the man to come through and fix the fridge and fix the ice maker. And he's seen the equipment. He said, "What you guys got going on here?" I said, we interview anyone and everyone. We share stories. We tell them to max. We live life to the max. And we got Ethan.
Thanks for having me, guys.
A bull rider / HVAC? Would you call it HVAC?
HVAC, refrigeration repair. Yeah, pretty much same.
Well, the main reason why we dragged him on the show is because he said he rides bulls. And we're going to get right into this interview. I'm stirring my words. I got like 5 hours of sleep. Right after Max's intro.
Happy Friday, everybody. Happy holidays. Paralyzed from the neck down, breathing through a machine, but that doesn't stop me from following my dreams and doing what I love to do. I don't got an excuse, and neither should you. Let's get into Keith.
Ethan, bro.
Ethan. Let's get into Ethan.
So your name's Greg, right?
Yeah, Jason, Ethan, Nathan. I get it all,
Ethan, the bull rider.
Yeah, man.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I'm super excited. I could not believe I got invited on. I appreciate it.
It's weird how people come into other people's lives. I mean, Eric calls about my fridge and says, "Hey, you need to get it fixed." And then we meet Ethan.
Yeah.
And Ethan's works for what the hell is the fridge called?
It's called Sub-Zero.
Sub-Zero?
Yep.
It's my favorite.
It just goes to show that on this show we don't discriminate.
We don't.
We get all types of people from all angles of life, and we show people many different perspectives on this crazy thing called life that we're all trying to figure out. And it gets complicated.
It does.
We're all on this roller coaster.
It's complicated.
Life is up and down. Life's more of an accident than anything,
Ooh, it's more of an accident.
That's what I figured.
You think it's an accident that we met, Max?
I think it was fate. I don't think
fate?
it was an accident.
Oh, you're sweet. You're a sweetheart.
Shut the fuck up. So, Ethan, tell us about your upbringing, man. I mean, because you're like the first person we've had on the show that's a bull rider and, straight country. You know what I mean?
Yeah, how do you get introduced to that hobby?
Yeah, and your upbringing and your family, just everything.
Well, we'll get into it. I'm not a career bull rider. I'm not a rodeo cowboy. I've done it a few times. I ride horses. I rope calves every now and then. Grew up in Palatine, Illinois, about 35, 40 minutes east of here. I've got 2 younger brothers, just awesome, super tight with them. 2 great parents. Grew up in Palatine. I actually got thrown out of high school when I was a junior for
Making a bomb.
No, I wasn't making a bomb. No,
That's a reference to a previous episode that we
It was
had.
some other stuff I don't care to share on the internet, in front of people. But
Oh, man.
yeah, I got sent to an alternative school. I went from a school that had I want to say 4,500, 5,000 people in it. I got sent to a school
That's
with
a lot of people.
it was quite a few people. I think my graduating class had 1,200 people in it. So
In an alternative school.
yeah, I got sent to an alternative school.
And that's like for basically like a behavior school.
just bad kids. Yeah, kids
Really?
that mess up.
5,000? That's crazy.
Well, that was the high school I went to. My altern had 15 kids in it.
Oh.
I was the only white kid in there. Like you said, we don't discriminate. They didn't really like me that much. I would wear overalls to school, and it was not good. If I wore the wrong set of colors, I'd have to put on a school shirt because different gangs and stuff like that in the area. But yeah, I figured, you know what, I'm in this altern now. I kind of got to turn it around and figure it out. So I did a bunch of online classes. Got out in December of 15. I graduated early. And immediately started working as a mechanic. And that's kind of the story that leads up to me sitting in your kitchen. I was working as a mechanic at a shop in Palatine. I did that for about 3 years, and I got sick of it. The company who I worked for originally, they had their fleet vehicles serviced over at the shop that I was working at. And I would see these guys, once, twice, 3 times a month, depending on how much driving they would do. And I befriended a tech named Dave. Dave and me, we're not in touch anymore. He moved somewhere south. We talk every now and then, but I was having a horrible day. I was covered in grease and oil, coolant, trans fluid, whatever, dripping all over me. It was a winter time, so we were getting all the salt, the salt wash from the cars when they come in. It's warm in the garage, so all the stuff was dripping on you. And Dave's like, "Hey, Ethan, how you doing, man?" I said, "Dave, dude, I am having a horrible day. I don't want to keep doing this. I'm thinking about going to school for HVAC. I didn't know that appliance repair was a thing. Mm-hmm. So I said, "Dave, man, what do you guys do? Like, I want to get into HVAC. I want to stop working on cars." He said, "Man, we work on refrigerators and wall ovens and microwave steam ovens, vent hoods. And I think we might be looking to hire a training guy. Here's the owner's phone number." Owner's name was Pete. Really, really nice guy. So when I got off of work, I called Pete. I said, "Hey, Pete, I've been working at this shop for a few years. I've been working on your trucks, and I want to get into HVAC. I'm interested in doing what you guys are doing." Dave's a good buddy of mine now. I've known him for about 2 years. We talk every couple of weeks. And Pete said, "Well, why don't you come on in for an interview? Come for a ride along, see if it's something you're interested in." I show up. I was working 5 days a week. Thursdays were off, and then I was going to night school. I started going to Harper College over in Palatine for HVAC. Mm-hmm. So I went on a ride with Pete, the owner of the company, and I immediately fell in love with it. We got to see some really, really nice houses on the North Shore, working in just mansions, more money than we could possibly imagine what to do with. And we're working on these people's refrigerators.
More money than you could imagine.
It's like, yeah. So I'm like, man, this is really cool. Like, it's pretty laid back. We get to go to new areas. We ran 6 calls that day, so I got to go into 6 different homes. And I told Pete, I said, "Pete, I like this. I think I'm interested in coming on, being one of your guys' apprentice." So he said, "Great. Once you finish school, we'll hire you on full time." So school was, I believe, 8 months. Maybe it was 6 months. I don't remember exactly. So every Thursday, my off day from the shop, I would go ride with somebody from the old company, running house calls, trying to learn the trade. And I graduated trade school, quit my job the next day, gave my 2 weeks in, and then got hired on at the company that I was working for originally. So I was with them for 5 years. I was in training for about 2 years, training with the senior tech every day and learning some good skills and seeing some nice houses. So I was out on my own. One thing led to another. I ended up breaking my leg, and that put me out of work for about 14 months. And that's how I ended up coming to your house. I ended up with another company, got called out to work here, and that's how I'm here. But yeah, the upbringing was good. I mean, we didn't do much horseback riding out there. Definitely no bull riding. I didn't know any cowboys, so to say, or cowgirls. There was a stable in Palatine called the Palatine Stables. My cousin, he served in the Army. He was stationed up in Alaska out of Fairbanks.
Okay.
He ended up staying there. So Max was gifted horseback riding lessons when we were like 12, 13 years old. And it's all English riding, hunter jumper, English, prim and proper riding. So kind of got into it then, lost touch. The real gearhead growing up. So we were riding little mini bikes and stuff like that around the neighborhoods, buying dirt bikes, four-wheelers, got into the snowmobiles and stuff like that. So
when you were talking about how you got your jobs, going from you said washing cars or working on cars?
I was a mechanic.
Working on cars to then talking to someone and getting that opportunity as an apprentice and then maintaining that good relationship with the previous job so you can go on bull riding. The determining factor that I'm hearing is just maintaining good relationships with everyone, and those relationships lead to opportunities and hobbies like bull riding and getting in the stables.
That's what it boils down to.
I mean, working with Max, we just reached out just to say, hey, and then... And then it's all about who you know.
Yeah.
You didn't go online and Google, what career should I get into? I hate being a mechanic. You vented to someone, and that's certain someone.
I fell into it. Yeah. Like I said, it was an accident. It wasn't even like I just fell into the trade, and I absolutely love it.
So any moral to your story that I could give to the people is be a good fucking person, be polite, talk to people, be yourself. Be nice.
I mean, yeah, I agree, but that must take a lot of discipline, though. Like 6 months, hating your life, just going to work, sweating your ass off, or being cold as shit, and you have to, and all you're looking at is the light at the end of the tunnel. You're like, okay, if I finish school, and on Thursdays I'm going to go on these ride-alongs, get better at working on refrigerators and stuff like that, and then I don't know, like the pot boils all the way to the top sometimes. Did you ever have a moment where you were like, fuck, I can't do this?
Not really. No, I knew it was going to suck for a while. I mean, going to night school and then riding on my days off and then working. I knew the company that I was going to go work for, they didn't work on weekends, and I loved having my weekends off. So when I was a mechanic, we worked Saturday, Sunday. Those were our busy days. We were doing a lot of oil changes, brakes, shocks, all that stuff, coolant flushes. So I've never worked for a dealership. I worked in a quick lube. It was a quick lube, but we did other things, like not like a Jiffy Lube, but we would do brakes and struts, engine components. We'd never pull motors. We would never do transes. I mean, we'd do U-joints on drive shafts and stuff like that. But I think the main difference is probably pay scale. I know that GM is union, and they all work off book time. So let's say, you bring your Chevy Silverado into the dealer under a dealer warranty, or if you're out of warranty, and you need a water pump on your motor. I believe, like I said, I haven't worked in a dealership, but from my buddies that have, this is what my understanding is. If the GM book says, hey, this job's going to take you 3 hours, so that's all you could charge for it, and you do the job in an hour and a half,
you're
great.
Still getting charged for 3 hours.
Well, that's the thing. So if you do it in an hour and a half, that's great. Then you get your book time, and then you could go on to another job, make more money. If you run into a problem and break a bolt off or strip a head, and you're on that job for 6 hours, all you get paid for is the 3 hours.
Oh, really? I didn't even know it went both ways.
It's feast or famine there. Yeah. So
I did not know it went both ways.
If you're good, you're good.
The whole time I'm just thinking, I'm getting fucked every time I go to a mechanic.
No. If you're good, you're good. If you're bad, you're bad. And then guys like me that were working at the Quick Lube, I mean, we were just hourly. We had some commission and stuff like that. But I believe that's some of the main differences. That we were working for a family-owned company. We're not working for a corporate organization.
No, I was just wondering because most people tend to like go to the dealership if like there's a issue with their car rather than like a mechanic. I always went to mechanics back then, you know, and they would do what they do, charge what they charge. And I always thought I was getting screwed over, so I got another question for you, my friend. Have you ever screwed over a dumb girl that walks in and says, I need my oil changed, and then you say, oh, your transmission's busted?
So I'm a big karma believer. I'm a big karma guy, and I've worked with guys that do screw people over. I don't believe in doing that. So
How do they do though? How do they do?
Yeah, have you seen it?
You know,
tell a story of what you've seen.
So I don't.
No names.
Firsthand, I don't think I know of anybody that's done that. I've heard stories, you know, of people getting screwed over.
Give us a story. Like what's like the most expensive? Let's say that.
So here's one. I just heard this story like 2 months ago. I've got this friend. She's got this old Chevy Silverado. It was wet around the head gaskets, and she thought that the heads were leaking, the head gaskets on the motor. And pulling those heads off that motor is a really big job, and it gets expensive. So she brought it to a mechanic, not a dealership. She brought it to a mechanic, and the mechanic quoted her like $2,500 to pull the heads off to do the head gaskets. And the valve covers sit right above the heads, and to pull the valve covers off on an older truck like that, it's a really quick and easy job. You just pull the 4 bolts, pull the valve covers off, clean up the old gasket, put a new gasket on, and you're done. Gasket, I mean, you get RTV, it's like a liquid gasket that we like to use, or you can get the regular one. You know, if you get a regular gasket, it's like $25 with labor. I mean, you're looking at $150, $200. The mechanic quoted her that $2,300 for the heads, and it wasn't even the heads leaking. It was the valve covers leaking down onto the heads. So they were trying to pull a fast one on her. And another buddy of mine who works on trailers, he's a trailer hitch installer. He looked at her truck and told her, "Hey, this is, you know, what do you mean you got a $2,500 quote? Your heads aren't even leaking. It's the valve covers. You know, we could do this in my driveway in half an hour and be done." So that's one story that I heard recently.
So what's the moral of this story?
I just think it's a karma thing. I mean, if he would have done that job on her car, something would have happened. He would have screwed up another job.
I agree with you.
You know, it's the moral of the story is just don't
get
screw
a second
people over.
Quote.
Yeah.
Get a second quote.
Get second, get third, get fourth.
Yeah, that's the moral of the story. Second quotes. Whole time I'm thinking, like, what can people do to avoid, you know, what can the ignorant car people do to avoid the mechanics taking advantage of them? And really, second quotes is magical. Do it. And you could, honestly, I encourage second quotes on the medical field, too. If a doctor tells you need a surgery, you better get another doctor that's going to tell you the same shit.
I agree on that one for sure. Yeah. It's like, quotes, I just had to replace my furnace in my AC condenser at my home last season. I got 5 different quotes. The most expensive was $11,500, something like that, from a big name, reputable company around here. Yeah. The cheapest one was like $5,300. So there was a huge swing there. I ended up going with the middle guy. He seemed the most honest, and it made the most sense.
And you're gonna trust a professional, but again, it's always good to get second or third quotes for sure.
Yeah, I always think whenever I'm working in a home too, I always think of the Dateline NBC episodes where they had some woman in Florida, I think it was in Florida or Arizona, somewhere like that. She had a water heater out in her garage, and the Dateline people set up the cameras, the hidden cameras, and they cracked one of the water fittings loose, so it was leaking a little bit, okay? Mm-hmm. They called like 5 or 6 different companies over to see who would be honest and who wouldn't be. And I think 3 or 4 of the 5 companies tried to sell her a new water heater for thousands and thousands of dollars. Yeah. One guy was blatantly honest, so like that's the last thing I want to run into is screw somebody over and then have hidden cameras come out like, hey, you know, like this is what happened. So it's like
you got caught.
Just avoid the situation at all costs, you know. So
Yeah.
If the economy is lower, do you think more people will try to take advantage of other people?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We live in a pretty twisted world.
Yeah, so on green days, fellas, if you're looking at stocks, maybe you have less likely chances of getting screwed.
Yeah.
You know, if it's red days, you know, you better have your awareness up, you know, have your guard up. But no, yeah. So we talked a lot about work.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about maintenance. I want to talk about, you know, when you got the opportunity to ride your first bull. You know, how did that happen?
Oh man, so
We can talk about work. Let's talk about what makes people happy.
So it started off with me riding horses. That's kind of what kicked off the bull riding thing. So I've always been a fan of watching rodeo on TV, watching YouTube videos of these bull riders and bronc riders and stuff. So about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was dating this barrel racer girl, and barrel racing is predominantly female sport.
Yeah.
They make a clover around barrels with their horses. So we split up, and I ended up getting into horses. I was sitting at home bored shortly after that breakup. It was the wintertime, and I'm like, man, you know, it's too cold to ride out, you know, ride motorcycles. I'm a big motorcycle guy too. So when the salt flies, I'm putting that bike away for the winter. But I'm sitting there just bored. I'm like, man, I've got nothing going on. And there's a riding stable right down the street from me. And I called him up. I said, hey, you know, I'm brand new to this. I'd like to get involved, start riding some horses because it seems like a really fun thing to do. And they said, well, hey, you know, we got an opening tonight. Why don't you come on down? So I went down there, rode for an hour. It was a private lesson, immediately fell in love with it. Did a few private lessons, and they said, hey, man, we have confidence in you. We could put you out in a group lesson. Group lessons are a little less expensive than a single, you know, one-on-one lesson. So the group lessons are fun. You got a lot of other people in there that, you know, ride horses, all different ages. It's all adult, you know, so from like 18 to, you know, 60, 65 years old, we're in there hanging out with everybody, riding horses around arenas. You know, in the winter, we got an indoor arena. In the summer, we got an outdoor. So I was doing some research online. I wanted to try to get into bull riding, and I usually you got to start when you want to go pro. You got to start young, and you got to be tough as nails. Those guys are a different breed of people, and I've learned pretty quickly after my experience. I'm not cut out for that, and I'll never go pro. But I found this guy.
Never say never.
Never. No, I mean it's a tough life from the guys that I know that do it. They're always on the road. But to get back to how I got into it, I was doing some research online. I was looking at rodeo schools, you know, just practice pens. There's a practice pen about 4 hours south of here. I don't have any bull riding equipment. I didn't have a helmet or a vest or a bull rope or spurs or anything like that. So a gentleman named Lyle Sankey, he's a really famous rodeo cowboy that rodeoed in the late 80s and early 90s. He was a saddle bronc rider and a bull rider. Once he retired from rodeoing, he started a school called Sankey Rodeo School. So he teaches bull riding, and he teaches saddle bronc riding, and he teaches bullfighting. And bullfighting is just like they call them rodeo clowns. Those guys are awesome. I mean, a lot of respect to those guys because they're in there with every single bull. You know, we just get on one and then get out of there as quickly as we can. So I found his school online, and it was booked up for months and months and months and months. So I hopped on one. I think I waited 8 months to go down to the school, and he was having a school in Oak Hill, Ohio. So that's like southern Ohio. And he's got a stock contractor that travels with him. So he has schools in Texas, a lot of schools in Texas. He travels everywhere. So he hauls a big trailer, all his gear and supplies, all his equipment, and he has stock contractors that he hires to bring bulls or, you know, bucking broncs to these different rodeo events. So we were at a place called the Diamond J Rodeo Company in Oak Hill, Ohio, and it was a three-day school. So basically, I dragged my dad and my brother down there with me, because if I got hurt, I wouldn't be able to drive myself home, you know, if I broke an ankle or something like that. So they really enjoyed going to see that. But signed up for the school, went down to Oak Hill. This is, I believe, April of last year, or April of this year. It's been about 8 months since I've been on a bull.
Your first bull was 8 months ago.
Yeah, first time getting on. Like I said, I grew up in Palatine. We don't have bulls out there.
Yeah, I thought like you like grew up in Southern Illinois or something.
Nope.
Like you look like you're straight from the south.
No. I eventually I'll move down there, but no.
Do you have a Confederate flag up?
No Confederate flags up.
Right.
A lot of American flags, but
continue your story of the first bull.
Yeah, so we get down to Oak Hill, and my dad and brother, they wanted to trailer a motorcycle down because we're in the hills. It's beautiful out there. My brother wanted to go out riding, so we trailered the bike down. I show up bright and early. The school don't start till 8:30. I show up at 7. Ask, hey man, how can I help you set up? He's kind of getting me acquainted to all the equipment. We're setting bull ropes out. A bull rope is basically the rope that you tie around that rope's chest to hold on to when you're getting on a ride. So we're tying all these bull ropes on the fence, getting them ready for all the other students to show up, and they have a few. It's called a barrel. Basically, it's just this big mechanism that rocks back and forth, and you sit up on top of it to practice lifting up. When you get on a bull, that bull's going to rear up on you, and you got to get up over its head to take its power away. So if you fall backwards and that thing goes to buck, you're going to go right off the rear end of it.
Wow.
And so we're kind of going. He's a big storyteller, so he's telling all these stories from his rodeo days, and we're down there with I want to say 25 people. We're down there. A lot of young kids. I think the oldest guy there was 35, maybe 40 years old. And day one, we're pretty much going over all the ground rules. What to do, what not to do. You stay the hell out of the way. If that bull's in the arena, you're not in there. I mean, you let the bullfighters do what they're doing. Let that bull get up out of there. So we're going over, all the equipment that we're going to use. Spurs, like I said, bull vest, it's a puncture vest. I mean, if you get stomped on, you're still going to be pretty hurt. It helps from getting actually punctured, if you get horned or something like that. So we're getting all this stuff set up. No, we didn't. Nobody was wearing chaps, unfortunately.
Really?
A lot of cowboy hats, we're getting everything set up and getting our helmets adjusted. You wear a mouth guard because if you take one to the chin, you could break your teeth. You knock yourself out. You get pretty hurt. So these are not ranked bulls. These are just practice bulls that we're on. And a ranked bull is basically just like a bull that really, really bucks hard. So we're on some practice bulls. And the stock contractor is awesome. They're getting these bulls unloaded off the trailer, bringing them back around the arena, and getting them in this corral. It's basically a bullpen where they all hang out until it's time to start lining them up to get in the bucking chutes. So Lyle's telling all these stories, and he's just kind of teaching us some things. I mean, there's a few younger kids that have ridden before. The vast majority of us have never been on a bull. So he's going over the basics, and we have lunch, and this is day one. He says, all right, well, who's ready to get on? So we're, I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. Let's get on. I'm getting ready. And they just keep saying, hey, just stay calm. Just remember to breathe. Try to think about driving forward. Not locking in with your heels. So you wear spurs, and the spurs are they're tweaked inwards, and those spurs help you stay on. They kind of grab that bull's, like his ribs. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. We tie our boots onto us with leather straps because if they get ripped off, they're not going to do us any good. So we tie those on. And he's calling us up one by one. Ethan, come up here. Mike, go over there. Josh, you get on chute number 4. So we're up there getting ready, and these bulls are in the chutes. So one by one, we're starting to buck these bulls, get on these bulls and go out. So I was number 3 up, and I dropped my bull rope down in that chute. There's a guy with a grabber. It's like basically like a long stick with a hook on it to grab the bottom side of your rope to bring it up because you don't want to go. You can't go in there. You'll get hurt. So they bring that rope up, bring it over the top of the bull, and they tie it on there lightly so that you could get into that chute. So you're standing over that bull, just looking down on it. You're getting really amped up. It was a huge adrenaline rush. It was unbelievably awesome, and they teach us how to mount this bull. We get on. We want to put both our feet on its back, but we can't. We don't step hard. We don't want to hurt the bull. We're not. We're bucking bulls, but they're animals. We got to be careful. We don't hurt them. They're livestock, and they make these guys money. So teach us how to get on. Put your feet on. and you slide down and you sit your butt on that bull as soon as you can, because the more time you stand up with your arms like that, if that bull decides to kick or buck or anything and it knocks your arm off and you fall into that bucking chute, you're gonna get hurt. You could get really, really injured. So they say get on
drop
this.
in fast.
You get in and you drop in and you stay on that bull. So we're sitting on these bulls, waiting for our puller to pull the gate, and we use this stuff called rosin. It's really sticky. If you warm it up with your hands, it gets really sticky. So these bull ropes have a bunch of rosin on them. And they're pretty simple ropes. I mean, it's literally just like I don't know if it's cloth. I don't know what material. It's a soft material that wraps around it. And then there's a little knuckle pad with a little bit of foam on it so that you don't hurt your knuckles too bad. We got a glove on. We tape our gloves on. So you lock your hand into that rope. The rope's pretty thin. I mean, you're just hanging on by the tips of your fingers, and you got to warm up that rope, get that rosin nice and sticky, warm that rope up, bring it through. Once you pull that thing
you
tight.
You got to warm up that rope.
Yeah, you got to warm the rope up, get that rosin nice and sticky and warm so it'll stick in your hand so it doesn't get yanked out. You tell them to pull. It gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and you're sitting on that bull, with your arm just locked into your crotch there. So you're pulling it. He brings that tail under the rope around. You wrap it around your fingers. If you look online, some guys put one through their pinky like that. Other guys just hold it. I had so much adrenaline going, I had no idea what to even do. So I got this vest on. I got my spurs on, helmet, mouth guard in. I got a hell of a gag reflex, so I had to cut that mouth guard up pretty far because I couldn't keep that thing in my mouth. So, you're in there just gritting your teeth, holding onto that mouth guard. Your helmet's nice and tight, and they say, "Hey, are you ready to go?" So yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's go. So you sit forward, keep your chest forward. You sit up, take your hand off that chute. You nod your head. Second, you nod your head. That gate flings open, and that bull takes off. So, I got on 4 of them. I didn't ride a single one. Riding is just basically staying on for 8 seconds. I got bucked off pretty quickly after every single time. After every time I nodded my head, I was eating dirt within a few seconds beforehand. But, you're thinking about all that training and everything they tell you, and you're like, you know what, drive forward, keep your chest up, hold on, watch that bull's head. You want to kind of want to, drive your hips and your arm. If that bull's going right, you're going to try to stay with it, and you got to stay up. So, the second that chute opens, everything just goes black. You don't think of anything, and then, boom, it's over. Then you're on the ground. You're scrambling to get up because sometimes that bull will go after you.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've seen the world's most amazing videos. There's a lot of bull riding.
Yeah.
A lot of problems where a guy gets out safely when the bull freaking stomps on him. And this was back then, so like in the 80s probably, or the 90s when this happened. I mean, Lyle, you said his name is?
Lyle Sankey, yeah.
He probably went through like bulls like that, ranked bulls, so that's crazy. But so you were falling off all day, right?
Yeah. So throughout the 3 days, like I said, I didn't ride the full 8 seconds, and nobody in the group, even the kids that had ridden 10, 15, 20, 30 times, none of them rode. None of them stayed on the whole time. And one of the bullfighters, his name was Tristan. I'll never forget this kid. He was awesome. He lived down in Ohio. He was just hired on with the stock contractor to come help us out and be a bullfighter. So he was awesome. He was in the ring the whole time. He was trying to talk us through it. Hey, stay calm, smile, man. Bull riding's fun. We're in there just like freaking out, trying to stay calm. He's like, look, man, it's just riding bulls. Like, relax, it's fine. You just do what you got to do. Stay on that thing and get out of the way. So, they put Tristan on the rank as bull they had at the end of the deal, because we were all giving him shit about, oh, you're talking all this and that. Just smile. This bull that he hopped on, it was unbelievable. This bull that he hopped on jumped out of the air at least 4 feet, clean off the ground, and he didn't get bucked at all. He stayed on the full 8 seconds. It was very impressive to see him ride those bulls. And he I believe maybe a year and a half before, got bucked off in the chute, fell underneath that bull and got his neck broken. He recovered from that, and the time that he rode for us was the first time he had gotten on a bull since he broke his neck. So he was pretty amped up when he landed on his feet. He didn't even land on his back or on his hands. So when he jumped,
his neck landing on his feet.
No, he landed on his feet after the 8 seconds.
After his 8 seconds of him
that's
riding.
Insane.
Yeah, he landed
That's
on his
insane.
feet. He didn't even. No, when he broke his neck, I don't know. He didn't tell us the story, but it was. This is the first time he had ridden after he broke his neck. Yeah, he landed on his feet, man, just like he knew exactly what he was doing. It was unbelievable.
Okay, so you told us about bull riding. What is the scoring? Like, how does that work? Like, scoring and bull riding, okay? Because I only knew, like, a little bit. I only knew, like, okay, my friend did, like, 4 seconds or something, 4.2 seconds on a bull,
Yeah, so on a bull ride, on a successful ride, when you go 8 seconds, there's 100 points. This is to the best of my knowledge. Like I said, I'm not a rodeo cowboy. I've only done this a couple times. But there's 100 points to be made. The bull gets 50 points, and you get 50 points, depending on how ranked that bull is and depending on how good you ride. So that's kind of how you get your scoring. So, if I ride that bull for 8 seconds and I look like I'm struggling, there's an etiquette to it. You got to look good. Keep your shirt tucked in. You want to look presentable.
Presentable.
Yeah, you want to look presentable. So, if you're spurring that bull, if you're digging your heels in and doing what you're doing, if it looks like you're riding that bull, you're gonna get a high score. If the bull's good at bucking, if it's rank, if it's doing what it should do, that bull's gonna score high as well. So. When you're talking like PBR or PCB or one of those big name rodeo companies, I want to say some of the biggest guys are JB Mooney, Lane Frost, Tough Heedman. They're all really legendary bull riders. And JB, he just retired recently. He got injured pretty bad quite a few times. I think he's broken both of his legs at least twice.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Like this is why country kids are like on a whole nother level. Like,
it's fun.
They're just like,
I broke both my legs twice.
It's
Had to
fun.
retire.
Oh, I just broke my neck, but I'm gonna get right back on.
Yeah.
That kid was a nutbag. He was the epitome of a good old boy. I mean, he was built like an ox, and he had a heart of gold. I mean, he had the soul in him. So it was cool to see that. But
so like, I mean that's amazing. But when you fall, were you like flipping over the wall, like, or were you just falling to the side, or like how was it going? Because I've seen like videos of dudes like doing a full like flip over the bowl and just running to the gate, and it always dawns on me because a broken neck usually means a spinal cord injury.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like me.
yeah.
Like someone that could be in a position like me. Like, so you're doing something extremely dangerous that could cause a spinal cord injury, but you're doing it because you love it, So it's like pick your poison. And sometimes people fall the wrong way. And one of those people that come to mind is Christopher Reeves. Because he wasn't even riding a bull. He was riding a horse. And he broke his neck. Because it bucked.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like you said, it's like you pick your poison. I mean, we're here for life's a journey. It's not really a race. So, when it's time, it's time. But when I got bucked off, the one thing that Lyle really drilled into our heads is it's called a hang up. So if you're riding with your left hand, you want to get off on that left-hand side. So you want to dismount, throw your arm over, get off on that left-hand side. If you get off on the right, you could have a hang-up. That hand could hang up in that bull rope, and it won't come out.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And then you start getting dragged around the arena, by this bucking bull. You fall underneath the thing, you get pretty hurt. So when I got bucked off, it the one thing that I remembered was get off on the left, because if not, you're going to be in big trouble. And yeah, no, I wasn't flipped or anything like that. These bulls weren't that rig. So I had a bull come, my second bull that I got on. He came out of the gate, bucked twice, and I ended up losing it. Hopped off on the left, and as I was going off, I'm hitting the ground kind of backwards, so my feet are towards the bull's head, and his bull's feet come right down across my back. So you could see on the bull vest, there's like, it was mud stains, so you could just see that mud stain go right across my back, and I had a hoof mark on my lower back for a little while. I had one on my inner thigh. A kid got bucked off. 16-year-old kid got bucked off there, and I watched his arm snap.
Fuck.
And that was on day 3. That was towards the end of the deal. His ma was down there. He was a bull rider. That's what he did. He lived in North Carolina. He came up from North Carolina to do this. I guess they do a lot of bull riding in North Carolina. They don't do a lot of it up here in Illinois. So that's why.
Father, I'd be so scared to watch my son ride a huge animal that could just crush us.
Yeah, they're 2,000-pound animals.
Culture? I was just about to ask the weight, but is it like just the culture? Like you want to be a bull rider? Like is just what gets the panties down? Like what is it?
It wasn't really more. It
wasn't.
wasn't.
You know what I mean? Like
it wasn't. It was more for a me thing. Just like. If maybe I'm good at this, maybe I could pursue it as a career. After I got bucked off the first time, I knew immediately that this was not for me. I'm not cut out for it. I was shaking in my boots, knowing that I got called up to go hop on again. I'm like, oh man, that's when the adrenaline really starts kicking in. And
because you said you gotta really sit.
Yeah. Once you get on, you sit.
Is there a saddle or no? There's no saddle. Right?
No saddle, just a rope, and then there's a.
It's really hard on your balls.
There's it's called a flank strap, and that's what makes the bulls buck. There's a lot of controversy on the internet. They wrap the rope around the bull's testicles, this and that. It's not true at all. All it is it's a soft cloth rope with 2 D-rings on it. That when you pull D-rings, you could tighten stuff up. So that rope gets tied around that bull's hips, and all that bull's trying to do is kick that rope off. So when you nod your head, they're going to pull that rope, and that bull's ready to start bucking. So it doesn't hurt the bull at all. It's a really soft, like cloth fabric.
I was going to ask you about the testicles, because everyone that's what I thought they use. They just rip on their testicles.
No,
and that's what pisses them off.
No, I couldn't imagine trying to wrap a bull's testicles with a rope. I mean, you're going to get hurt real bad. Those things are not going to have it. So like I said, all it is
the bull's just going to stay calm, like, getting my nuts wrapped again.
Yeah,
all right,
no,
then I'll get angry. Let me get angry after you're done.
That's the thing. It's not a thing. I mean, it's an old wives' tale. Made up by the PETA people, the animal. They don't want to see the animal abuse. These bulls are, they basically told us, look, don't hurt these animals. If something's going to get hurt, you get hurt. You signed a contract. You guys got the insurance. These bulls are our livelihood, and we care for them. We love them. They love these animals. They're like pets to them. You get on them and ride them, but during the day, they hang out in pastures, eating beautiful green grass, getting grain, getting whatever they eat, and they're just hanging out. So, they know what their job is, and when they get into that arena or when they get into that bullpen, they know it's time to go, but 90% of their lives, they're just hanging out, eating grass, hanging out with each other.
All I think about is the show Yellowstone when you're talking about this, like just Montana, like, pastures beyond the eye can see, and I feel like it's so cool having you on here and your energy, because we're so used to people who are like more in the mobile area, more in the tech area, being musicians, stuff like that. But you're like old school, man. You like the outdoors. You like, dirt biking. You like horseback riding. You like bull riding. So what's the plan? Like, are you gonna stay here, or do you want to move to a pasture?
Obviously, yeah, I'd love to own a horse ranch. I mean, it would be really cool. I don't train horses. I've got some friends that train horses, and I've got some friends that are vets. Owning a horse, to my understanding, is very expensive. Not only the cost up front, and it depends on what bloodline you buy. It depends on what you want to do with it. But horses, they, to my understanding, they like to get hurt and they don't want to live. I mean, they obviously want to live, but when they get hurt, let's say the difference between a horse and a cow, if a cow's out in a pasture and it gets its hoof caught in a fence, a barbed wire fence, that cow's going to hang out and wait for somebody to come help it. A horse, it's a prey animal, so they have a really severe fight or flight instinct, and when they get into a pinch like that, they can really hurt themselves, break their legs. I mean, it's if a horse got stuck in a fence, it's gonna thrash and freak out until it either cuts itself loose, breaks a leg, bleeds out. I mean, they go downhill pretty quickly.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So
yeah.
So we talked about the testicles. With horses, is it true if it's a broken leg, it's done?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I don't think that a horse could recover from a broken leg. I'm not experienced enough to tell you yes, it can. I don't think it can, no. And I think they put them out pretty quickly.
It'll probably cost a lot too.
Well, the thing is, like, it's got to move around. I mean, if it's got a broken leg, it can't stay up. It's just gonna lay there, and it can't lay for too long. It's kind of like an elephant. The organs get crushed, so they gotta get up and move around. So I believe that if that happens, they're done for.
Yeah. So your goal would be to have like a horse, and it's funny you brought up the price because my good friend Colonel Smith, his wife at the time had a horse. Right, they bought a horse, $52,000. That's how much this horse was.
Yeah,
it wasn't a fast one. It was just a regular horse, a $52,000 horse. It's insane, right? And then you have to keep up with like the vet bills, and you got to keep up with the stables and the washing, the feed, everything. But when you have your own ranch, then you're in charge of it. Do you think you could ever be in charge of a horse if you learned?
Oh, if I learned, yeah, I would. I'm a huge animal guy. I got 2 great dogs at home, 2 really cute little girls. Autumn and Millie, they're my dogs. One's a golden retriever, and another's like a German Shepherd Beagle mix. They're both rescues, so
nice.
Love animals. I'd like to eventually. Who knows what's gonna happen?
Do you see yourself like farming? Like, have you ever done that?
Agricultural farming, like corn and beans type farming? Nah, not really. No, it'd be more of like a horse ranch, hobby farm, so to say. I think farmers are some of the lifeblood of America. I mean, industrial agriculture, without farmers, we're not eating. So I've got a lot of respect for those guys.
Yeah, and a big question is, like, would you ever want to, sell meat, per se, like, if you were a farmer?
Not necessarily, no. I don't really know much about the industry.
I know it's cutthroat.
It's pretty cutthroat. Farming, it's difficult to make money. I mean, these harvesters, these combines and stuff are $500,000, $600,000. And I believe that that's something that you kind of are born into. I think it's hard to get into it as an outsider. Fourth, fifth, sixth generation farmers. You don't hear of, John from down the street, in Palatine. Yeah. Oh, John bought this farm. It's like, eventually, it could happen, but no, I don't foresee myself doing that. It's not really something that interests me.
Well, I totally agree with you on that 100%. I mean, you have to learn. Like, I remember I went to Genoa. Do you know where Genoa is?
Yeah.
I was hauling bales of hay with my friend Travis, and I lift weights, bro. And I was good. I thought I was good. We started early in the morning, and then when we got to the afternoon, we had a lunch break, and then we had 2 more hours left. Bro, I couldn't feel my fucking hands because of these farm country boys just throwing bales of hay on the fucking it was a really cool moment. Because it got me to really appreciate Travis. Because at first I was this fucking dude's sick or whatever, you know what I mean? Shout out Travis Hughes, by the way, if you're listening. But yeah, no, it was cool. It was cool to see, and it's cool to like see a different scenery rather than the city. You see land.
It's something different. I think that's why I'm so attracted to it, because I didn't grow up doing it. It's new, it's exciting and different.
What do people like say to you in public, like when they see you walking around, like, hey, you're in the wrong place?
I get asked all the time, hey, are you from Texas? It's like, no, I'm from Palatine, actually.
Yeah, it's crazy. Where are you from? Palatine.
Yeah. Well, you don't look like you'd be from Palatine. It's like, well, I mean,
where did you get the influence? Like, what got you your style?
I honestly,
one day you just woke up like, that looks cool. I want that. You went to a section in Cabela's like, yeah, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get those overalls.
We go over to the boot barn, I like Western wear. I like looking good, it's tucked in shirts, nice jeans, looking presentable. I think.
Well, it seems like you have good manners too, man. Like probably with women too. You're probably really nice,
I try.
Just a nice guy,
I try.
Try to say yes, ma'am. You say yes, ma'am?
Yes, sir. No, ma'am. Yeah,
no, ma'am.
I say it.
That's crazy. And you weren't grown up with it, or were you?
My dad instilled a lot of respect in women for me. Respect in general, but women in particular. He loves my mama like she is like the best thing that ever happened. She is. My mom's a sweetheart. But just seeing, growing up, seeing how he cared about her and the things that he would do, just, not out of pocket, but just different ways that he thought about her throughout the day. It kind of stuck with me. I mean, it's
nice.
Did you live in like a neighborhood, or did you have like a house like that was like kind of isolated, like kind of like this house?
Yeah. So we grew up in a neighborhood, back in the day when we were young, myself and my brothers, I'm 4 years apart between me and the youngest one. So it was more isolated back then. As neighbors got old or moved away or passed away, their properties would be sold, and then they would tear down their small houses and build large houses. So if you looked at the neighborhood I grew up in, 20 years ago compared to today, our house does not fit the appeal. There's beautiful homes on that street. We have truck tires, pickup truck bed caps sitting in the yard. I mean, we had chickens there at one point in time. Like,
let's go.
It's totally not what it used to be. But yeah, I grew up in a neighborhood.
Sustainability. You got some chickens.
We did. Yeah, we did. I'd like to get some more. But there's a forest that we used to go hang out in. We called it the swamp. It was more just like a wetland that some older kids built a tree house in the middle of this wetland a couple years before we were old enough to go hang out. So we had a pretty fun childhood doing that.
Nice. I mean, that's good. It's cool that you like figured out like an identity for yourself. You're like, I want to be this type of person. I want to look like this. This is how I like it. It's kind of like me. I started with like jerseys at first. When I was in the hospital, I started with like t-shirts, and then I started wearing jerseys. I never thought I'd be wearing football jerseys 8 years later, but I am wearing football jerseys.
You got a nice jersey, by the way.
I appreciate that. I wore it just for you because I thought you were a Southern boy.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the thought, man. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So everything that you've covered, from work to picking up the hobby that you never thought you'd get in, is there any advice that you would give to the audience on how to live life to the max?
Man,
anything at all?
To live life to the max, I mean, I guess I could just say if you're gifted an opportunity, you take it. You make the best of it. Some days are gonna suck, and you're gonna have to work real hard to get to where you want to be. But if you believe in it, I mean, it'll pay off eventually, and you'll get to where you want to go. And it's just a daily thing. You just got to take it one day at a time.
Take that leap of faith.
Do good today, and hopefully something good's gonna happen to you tomorrow. So. That's kind of how I live my life. I mean, that, and then, just living every day like it's your last. I know it sounds cliche to say that, but, we don't know how short life's going to be. So why not just take what you got and just live it up to the max, like you guys say.
Yeah.
Just get on a bowl. Why not just get in the chute, get on a bowl and say, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, I hate to live with regrets.
Hold on, let's be cliche. Grab life by the horns.
Yeah, living with regrets, like, man, I wish I went to that bull ride in school. It's like, I'd rather just say, yeah, you know, I was able to go do that, even if I got hurt. Like, you know, I did that, and I got a story to tell.
Yeah.
So
yeah, all from your buddy that brought it up to you, right? From your old job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if anyone out there has an old friend that says, "Hey, let's go knit some sweaters," you know, go knit a fucking sweater or something.
You never
know, go pick up a hobby. Maybe you'll love it.
If you like scrapbooking, fucking scrapbook. That's how it goes.
Yeah. Even if you want to roll some hay with some farmer you just met, come on, go try something new.
You are a pedophile. No, you're done.
What? You were about to go down a dark road next. All right, let's steer. No pun intended. Let's steer him away.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Look at that camera, man. Do you know which camera is yours?
No idea.
This one right here.
Look at that camera.
Gotcha.
Tell people, what are you living?
I'm living life to the max.
Very
Every
nice.
single day.